Cubby blue blood flowing through our veins. Sitting in the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old-style beers out at the game. Let's go, Cubby, Son Ranto.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto and the lovable Lucy.
Mucho Scali.
Son Ranto.
Michael.
Son Ranto.
Cotton.
Son Ranto and the lovable Lucy.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto.
Mucho Scali.
Why, hello there, and welcome to the Son Ranto Show. I'm your host, Danny Rocket. That loud person you just heard was Michael Cotton, and Infield Fly Girl's here.
Hi.
And hi, everybody. We just had a really wonderful trip out west. Well, we didn't get to go there. Infield Fly Girl was already there, in fact, in the West
I've
Coast.
been here the whole time.
The whole damn time, and the Cubs in their time there won 5 of 6 games. We're going to talk all about it. We also later on the show we're going to talk about some of these crazy new rules that I guess Theo Epstein's coming up with, and they're trying out in the Atlantic League. They just can't help themselves now that things are changing. What's next? Dogs marrying cats? I don't know. We're going to talk all about it, and then I'm really excited about this. We have Sandra. I think it's Marchetti. March. I think that makes a K sound in Italian. Sandra Marchetti's come on and share with us some poems from her brand new book, Aisle 18. So first of all, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for supporting us. 115 of you do, and you guys rock. Patreon.com/sunranto. But first, let's find out how everybody's doing. IFG, you moved.
I did.
New recording studio.
New digs, new recording studio. This is in no way final. It's going to be prettier next week, promise. Are we doing what we're drinking tonight?
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Well, in honor of the high holiday, I've got Elysian Brewing's Dank Dust.
Oh, Dank Dust is good. I like that one.
Yeah, it's so good. And it smells amazing. So
It seems like it's going to taste like weed.
that
It's
is what it
supposed
smells
to.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michael, you're
it's
very
just
soft tonight.
Straight up smells like a dispensary.
Michael, I think Michael broke his mic with the Son Ranto call tonight. I think it's just totally broken now.
Did I? I might have turned something down.
Turn yourself up if you can. But
I'm turning it up. How's that?
Sounds
sound?
delicious. And tomorrow is 420 as well, so that is also an appropriate beer to be drinking, a good weed beer. What do you got, Michael? What are you gonna get, old man hazy on?
Yeah, I got the Juicy Little Thing IPA, hazy IPA from Sierra Nevada again. I've had these sitting in my fridge. Like I don't know. They say that it's a limited time, so I just keep buying it because I keep thinking they're going to be like not there anymore, but they're always there. So
We should do that
Marketing
for.
executive is like weeping with joy right now.
yeah, I'm the sucker that believes that shit and just like, okay.
We should do that for Son Ranto. It'd be like, for a limited time only, the Son Ranto show going away soon.
This
Watch
is technically true on a cosmic scale.
Yeah, on a cosmic. Yeah, exactly. Zoom out a little bit. Son Ranto show's just a little blip in time. And this particular show even blippier. I am still drinking yerba mate. I'll have a glass of wine later on the when we do the Discord chat later on in the evening.
Oh, Sandra Marchetti, and it is correct, Marchetti. She is in the chat. She's hanging out with us. So you nailed it with the Marchetti.
And speaking of in the chat, hashtag Chance in the chat if you want to win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. It looks a little bit of something like this. And look, this is the one I wrote to Bill Sugas. So it's ready to go out, stamped and ready to go. Along with, I'll bring this up. 10% of all of our Patreon money goes to the Lost Boys, who create opportunities for kids through baseball on the South Side. Our friend Levante Stewart does great work down there, and so we tithe our Patreon to them. And plus, we had the money from the March Madness contest. And I am sending a check to the Lost Boys Inc. right in this envelope, and it's $650
Wow.
because I got a anonymous donor gave an extra $250 to this situation.
Oh.
So
you,
thank you.
Anon.
Yeah, thank you, anonymous donor. And yeah, very cool stuff. So hashtag James in the chat and get a message of love and doom. Thanks for supporting us and all that good stuff. But let's get into Rally Titties Day. Did you know?
Yay! We all remember.
Here we go. no,
When-
no. Today is the anniversary. The 2017, a cold day at Wrigley Field, rainy too, like one of those really miserable ones in Terrace Reserve where the wind's blowing in. And I guess this woman in box seats was actually hot. She was not cold like the rest of us. She was feeling. I think she had a liquor jacket on. This is what I think she had on.
I thought she got like her shirt got wet, like she spilled something on it or something. She was changing, so she decided to change her shirt. Which
No, this is not what happened. She turned around to the crowd, and it was like a slow motion train wreck because what happened is
no, I remember it was a slow motion train wreck. I just thought she was changing her shirt.
Well, she was changing her shirt into no shirt and then back into her shirt when the security finally got down there, because security, they're used to this kind of thing in the bleachers, indecent exposure, people doing things they should. I saw a guy get a handy one time in the bleachers. Like, these things happen, but that's bleacher behavior.
We all have our bucket list items.
Exactly. He was dying. Like, what can you say? It was a final wish. But no, in this particular day, this way, and I'll just start showing some pictures of this. But I hear some commotion going down to my lower right. I'm in Terrace Reserve. I see down there, and there's this woman standing up, and I'm like, "What's this lady doing?" And then all this, and so I'm trying to. Here she is. Like, she's taken. This is when she's taking her bra off. And you can see, I love the guy in the background, his face with the blue hood.
Oh yeah, his face. He's blown away. He's never seen such a thing. And the woman right by her elbow is dying laughing.
Oh yeah, I mean people didn't know what to expect, because it's like you could see this woman, the other woman behind her is in a poncho. People are, the woman in front of her is in a poncho. Like, people are cold and wet, but not this lady, not Rally Tits lady. But so there she is, and I censored this, and she's happy about it. Look, she's ecstatic. Like, this
She is so proud of herself.
She is, and it happened so slowly, and I'm pretty far away taking pictures with my zoom lens too. And then, of course, security came down and made her put her shirt back on, and then you could see that the security guard, the look on her face is like, "All right, let's go, lady." And she kind of gave the peace sign to the whole crowd. And this man loved it. He gave her a big hug. Now,
this is the best thing I've seen all day.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is, that woman, she was feeling herself. She was, I don't know what made her do this. It didn't seem like she was with anybody. So I don't know if this was like
nobody left with her.
Yeah, no, she just left by herself. It wasn't like, her friend being like, "I'm sorry, she always does this in public. She's an exhibition," or like, nothing like that. But then, but here's why she became the Rally Tits lady.
That friend happened to be in the bathroom. She's like, "Damn it, I can't leave for a minute." She comes back, and they're like, "Yeah, your friend took off her shirt," and they threw her out.
Yeah, it's all that rum chata they're drinking out there. And then, now, but here's why that it became Rally Tits Day, because the Cubs were losing this game, and then they came back and they scored 4 in the 9th off of player I hate to name, Addison Russell. There's a picture I took of him hitting that home run, and this capped it off. There he is. Everybody's waiting for him. It's a walk-off win, and the legend of Rally Titties was born.
Well, and if I remember, it literally started as like right then. Like, it's not like, oh, she did that in the 5th inning and this happened in the night. No. Like, as soon as she was doing it and they walked her out of there, like, immediately
I'd have to look at the timestamps to confirm that, but you know what? We'll go with that story because it makes more sense that as soon as they escorted her out, she gave the peace sign, that guy hugged her, then all of a sudden the rally began.
I believe it was just the love, everybody's excitement and all that. And the guys in the dugout are looking out, probably taking a peek, and they're like, "Hey, they're getting naked out there. Let's go play some baseball, boys."
Let's go with. I mean,
that's
Anything to
what
break the
Cubs players
tension of
sound
a
like.
losing
By the
game
way,
like
that's
exactly. Anything to break the tension. I mean, I've seen this kind of thing happen a few times. I've done things like this before. I've streaked as a younger man and things like that, and had a great time doing it. So I do understand the impetus to get out there and just like free it like you're in the cast of Hair or something like that, So I'm proud of her, and I really wish I knew who she was, because love to have her on the show and find out what the hell.
Rally Tits Lady, if you're watching, we love you.
We
oh
love
yeah.
you.
I mean, if we could find out who she was or whatever, I would like to give her a plaque. On
Just two
go back,
golden
figure out
titties on
the
a piece of-
dates, the game, maybe throw a ticket on there and be like, this is to commemorate the day that your breasts brought the Cubs back from a loss to a win.
Yeah. Well, somebody suggested a bobblehead, and then somebody else suggested you meant booble head, right? So we have Mike Pusateri says, when is her bobblehead day? And Corn Goblin says, where do they come up with these names? Corn Goblin says, you meant booble, right? So anyway, we should have booblehead day. I think that'd be if we get to know who she is, we can celebrate her, raise money for her charity of choice, and with boobleheads.
We can
Why the
totally
hell
do
not?
that.
Seems to be on brand for us. So anyway, let's talk about the Cubs, because it's going great.
Yeah.
Is this? I mean, I cannot remember a better West Coast trip ever, like ever in the 30, almost 40 years that I've been watching games. I don't think the Cubs have ever gone out on a West Coast swing and come back with one loss.
To be fair, it is the Oakland A's.
And the Dodgers, though. It's not, I mean, yes, I get it. The Oakland A's are terrible right now and whatever, but still, they had to go to LA first. And then I think, I know Danny talked about it on Cup of Cubby Blue. Oakland was a trap game. That was a trap waiting to happen. After taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers for the first time since 2014, Oakland was a trap. But they didn't fall into the trap. They held up. It was great.
Yeah, what do you attribute that to, IFG? Like the fact that years past they would have probably fallen into a trap, at least lost one game in Oakland.
To the 2023 Oakland A's.
Well, that's true. I didn't really appreciate how bad the A's
They are so bad.
But they have Jesus Eagle on the team. How could they be this terrible?
I would trade the 2023 Oakland A's for the SoftBank Hawks straight up.
It's a good point. There's probably
SoftBank Hawks might actually be trying to win.
They are.
Well,
they are always trying to win.
And I don't know too many of the details coming out of Oakland, but like the scene is pretty pathetic. They got a possum in the walls. They got the place was covered in sewage a couple years ago, and it flooded regularly. The fans have completely boycotted going to the stadium because of the sad, sorry state of the team. And the owner wants to move it to Vegas, which, that's pretty sad. I mean, the A's have moved around a lot, but
yeah, the A's started in Philadelphia, went to Kansas City. Oakland is their third stop on the tour.
They're a long time.
Yeah, and they have, but now they want to go to Las Vegas. I don't know. That's fine. I mean, there's no place really where they're at to build a stadium that they need or want, you know? So most teams, I would say, don't move. This is kind of what the A's do. I mean, I don't think there's
Not
been
recently.
the only other team that's moved that much is like Atlanta. But that's because they went from Boston to Milwaukee to Atlanta. That was
Well, and then they went
forever
from
ago.
Atlanta to the suburbs.
Yeah, they're not in
Yeah,
Atlanta.
they keep moving around in Atlanta, but they're still technically Atlanta. But outside of that, I mean, I think it's and then of course, whatever. Every single version of the Senators have moved. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for Oakland sports fans as a city. You know, they lose the Raiders, and the Raiders was like, I mean, I don't know anything about football, but I know that the Oakland Raiders had like a massive cult, right?
They lost the Raiders twice. In the 80s, the Raiders moved to LA, and they were in LA for like 10 years, and then they moved back to Oakland, and then they moved to Las Vegas.
To Vegas.
Yeah.
Right, because why have a team that has a devoted fan following at home when you can just be the team of whatever tourists are in town tonight?
Yeah, that's what's strange about it to me. And I mean, it's the fans that are boycotting. Oakland had some great teams. You had the Bash brothers with McGuire and Canseco. They were in it even like last year and the year before, like when the years that we got Addison Russell from them for Jeff Samardzija, and they were going for it and they were making these playoff runs. So there was a point in recent
John Lester. They had John Lester that
John
year.
Lester. Yeah. So there was a point in recent memory where we're going for it. But like getting back to this team that they're throwing out there now, I mean, you're right that like they could put them in like playing the Chicago Dogs, and the Chicago Dogs kind of got a chance out there. I mean, and the Cubs, I mean, except for the game 2, where it was pretty close until the end. Like that was the kind of trap game where they put up the 4 runs in the 8th inning, but it was 0-0 tight game last night. Then
it was tight today
for
quite a
half
while.
the game. And then they have that rookie phenom pitcher that went out there today pitching 100. What's his name? Mason Miller.
Mason Miller.
In 28 innings, I wrote this down as soon as it was said. In 28 innings, he has 53 strikeouts in the minors, and that's all he's done in the minors. So for all those people being like, "Oh, we got to bake Christopher Morel down in AAA like he's a freaking sheet of cookies," guess what? You could also have a guy come up throwing gas, making the Cubs hitters, professional veteran hitters on this Cubs team, looking like fools for half a game.
Okay, so here's the thing. We talked about this a couple years in a row. We just want to see the kids play. I mean, if you're not going to put a contending team out there,
and a seriously contending team, not a we might sneak into the second wild card spot team.
Right. Let the kids play. Let them get out there and play, especially if they want to move or whatever. I don't know. Like, it's not good. It's absolutely not good. But it might be kind of fun to watch this team if you were an Oakland A's fan. But I will also say, as much as I've been complaining about not letting the kids play in Chicago,
they're
doing way better than I thought they were going to be doing at this moment.
And we're going to get to that in second segment because I really want to talk about Matt Burleson because a lot of people are beating the drum for that, and I think that deserves a specific topic. But yeah, what you're seeing is a situation right now where you win 5 or 6 games, so it's kind of like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Because you got like, but here's what you got. You got like Patrick Wisdom hitting basically a home run in every third at bat that he goes up there. He's mashing the ball. Cubs go to LA. They hit, let's see, they have homers by Wisdom in all 3 games. Bellinger has been on fire. He had a hit streak, and today, I believe, he hit a home run in LA. They boo him for it, of course, because Dodgers. Gomes.
They should, though.
Yeah, I know.
They absolutely should. You boo the guy when they come back. It's fun.
It's a sarcastic boo. Gomes hit 2 home runs, now has more home runs, a lot more home runs than Wilson Contreras.
That is so weird.
Hap goes deep in LA, and then Suzuki goes deep in his return, having some troubles in the fields. Say a Suzuki, just he misjudged the ball. Looking
I think
a little.
he lost it in the sun, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that happens.
It happens. It's you don't like to see it. It's super embarrassing. I think there couldn't be anything more embarrassing for an outfielder. We saw it with the A's.
I don't know. Did you see what Jason Hayward did? Because that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw the still picture of it. I did not get a chance to watch that video yet, but
I know what are we talking about? I don't.
I'll find the clip.
Find it and put it in the chat, and maybe we could even share it on here and just take the copyright strike. But no, when you look at the thing is, one thing about the West Coast trip, to win on a West Coast trip and beat the A's is one thing. To beat the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium is kind of a big deal. They hadn't done it in the regular season since 2014. They did it in the playoffs in 2016. They took 2 or 3 on the road. And then that was it. And most of, like Michael said, most of my entire life, it's like, well, I'm not staying up for these games to watch us lose 4 in a row at Dodger Stadium and maybe sneak out 1 win.
Oh my God. If they would have come back 3-3 off of this road trip, everybody would have been ecstatic. Like, that's just how it's been for our whole lives. I mean, it was a little bit different maybe in like 16, 17, like you expect them to actually do well anywhere that they go. But outside of those 2 years, it's just like, man, if we can just split on a West Coast trip, we'll all be happy.
Well, even the 2016 103 win Cubs did not win the series in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
Until the playoffs. So, the other thing that I kind of was really coming away with, because I mean, the fact that there was a power outage at Wrigley, even though the wind was blowing out and the weather was nice, and then all this power came back at Dodger Stadium, made me question the balls. But it also, I don't question the balls that much because the Cubs pitching was pretty much lights out. Most of the Dodgers did not score any runs against the Cubs. You know, they've got a pretty fearsome. They got Freddie Freeman. You know, they got Mookie Betts on this team, and they didn't score very many runs at all. They scored 2, 1, and then 2, and the Cubs scored 8, 2, and 3. You had Steele, Tyone with his first great start. And unfortunately, that's the game that got screwed up at the end when Fulmer couldn't close it out. And then you have Smiley, who's looked good his last 2 starts, throwing that giant curveball, and he went toe-to-toe with Urias. So we did face their rookie guy, and that's who beat us, you know, but what was his name? We faced him again. He's a new dude. I wrote it down here. Michael Grove. Yeah, but to face Urias and to beat him, I think that's a big deal. Because he had it that day. It wasn't like, oh, Urias just didn't have it that one time.
Well, yeah, he had it until he lost it. Like he toward the end there, he started to lose it a bit. Like he fell on his butt and he threw that ball over to first and it kind of sailed on him, and then he was kind of getting into his own head. You know what I mean? Like he was good that day until he got into his own way. Like that's literally how the Cubs beat him, was that he beat himself out there on the mound, kind of struggling with a couple things.
Yeah.
On the video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Put it in the, can you share it?
It's in there. Yeah. It's ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you share it?
14 hits against the Dodger pitching staff. That's taken to right field.
Jason Hayward goes back. He tries to catch the ball.
He cannot make the catch.
Oh, my God.
So Nimmo, with his speed, is going to race into third base.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, see, he missed the ball. I mean, that was a knuckler. Like I'm not surprised that he didn't catch that ball. And those ones that were always hit straight at Jay Hay, those were the ones that he could never find. Like that, because it's too low in the lights, especially at Wrigley Field. Like it's too low in the lights, and it's just you're staring right at the sun or right at the lights at that point when it's like that knuckling line drive. He can't catch that. But yeah, so he tries to catch it. I'm just trying to explain to the podcast people. He tries to catch it. He basically misses it twice somehow. Like, you know.
Yeah, it like bounces off the top of his glove and goes fumbling around, and then he falls down reaching for it. And then he's like crawling, trying to reach. And
so basically it looks like Kyle Schwarber.
That's the thing that really blew me away about the whole thing was that when he fell down, he was going backwards, and somehow when he fell down, his legs went away from the ball and pulled his whole body that direction, even though everything else was going the other direction. Like when you're watching it, you're like, well, he should fall to his left. No, he falls to it. He somehow the legs kick out to his right. And then, yes, he has to
like he's trying to run on the top of a stick of butter in a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
It really did look.
And he didn't even crawl for it, like up on his hands and knees. He was like almost army crawling, like staying down low.
Yeah, crawling is not really a baseball move. Like there's a lot of things you swing, you throw, you can even kick a little bit sometimes. You could do some kicking, but crawling, when that's happening on the baseball field, something's going terribly wrong for you. So yeah, what else happened in this week? Oh, I mean, I mentioned Bellinger. I mean,
you got to talk about Bellinger getting back. Goes out there. J.A. hits a home run, and Bellinger pulls that shit back over the wall. Amazing. That was so much fun. And then the loud rain of boos coming down, and everybody like that I saw that. On the videos when he's holding his hands out, everybody's like, he's acting as if he doesn't understand why they're booing him. I feel like he was holding his hands out like, give it to me. Yes, I just took that shit away.
Or more like, yeah, I did
Are
it.
you not entertained?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I did it. I fucking like, everybody was like, Bellinger's out there like, I can't believe you're booing me. That was like the announcer talk. And it's like, no, dude, he's fucking holding his hands out like I am the enemy now.
Crawley in the chat says, crawling not a baseball move, but Crawley is. Yeah, good point, Crawley.
Absolutely.
The fans crawl sometimes.
fans will crawl. For sure.
But I mean, yeah, but Bellinger, a little slow start at Wrigley the first week was like, maybe he still stinks and stuff. But he had
a little bit of a slow start in Dodger Stadium too.
Yeah, but he's just totally on fire. He goes as a 5-for-5 game.
No, I was making a joke about him getting a strike.
Oh, that's right. That was bullshit. So he gets that strike when he gets that giant ovation, and they give him a pitch clock strike. And then it happened today where one of the A's guys, Estuary Ruiz, he got a pitch clock strike because he like fouled one off his own hand, and there was stinging, and he goes out and he's like hurting his hand is hurting, and the umpire's like 14, 13, 12, and he doesn't realize.
Swear the umpire held his hands up, both hands came up. It looked like he was giving him timeout. Like there was no reason. Everybody thought it was timeout. Sutcliffe was talking about it. Shambi, they're all like, yeah, we thought it was timeout. He put his hands up as if he's saying timeout, and then he calls a strike, which struck Estuary out.
I'm just beyond furious at the umpires this week. Between Bellinger and that, and like suspending Max Scherzer 10 games for rosin. Yeah. That's the thing they're allowed to use.
Well, and I heard his explanation too, and I do want to talk about that in the second segment a little bit more. But yeah, I agree. It is the umpiring, and part of it is that these are a lot of new umpires. There are a ton of names when they go on the radio broadcast and tell me who's umping. I'm like, don't know that one, and it's not because they're a good umpire and I don't know their name. I watch all these things. Like there was a guy named Baloo. I'm like, isn't that the bear's name from Jungle Book?
It is.
Yeah. Like, wow.
The Bare Necessities.
Yeah. I love that song. The Bare Necessities.
Everybody loves that song. Yeah. It's one of the great songs of all time.
Yeah. It really is. But yeah, no, there was the ump show out there. There was that going on. But they have to be more discerning as to what's going on in the game. And there's some kind of consternation out there that it's possible that a lot of umps quit over the pitch clock because now they got all this extra stuff to do. And if you think about it, if it was your job, like let's say Sun Ranto is my full-time job, and all of a sudden they say, okay, now on top of doing the shows and on top of doing Cubs Pod and on top of all the responsibilities you now have to write 3 articles a day about the Cubs on top of it. And for, and we're going to pay you the same, and it's all going to be the same. And that's kind of what the umpires are facing. They've got all this new crap to think about.
A day would be way harder than literally just fucking paying attention to your job.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying what the umpires are thinking. They're like, I'm not doing that. I've been doing this time. Now my job is changing. I don't want to do it. So they quit. So we got new umpires. Like, that is just a fact. Like, that is just what happened.
I would like to believe that they quit because they believe that the umpire shouldn't have the right or the power to add balls and strikes to the count. I would like to believe that that's the reason why. I don't believe it is, but that should be the reason why.
Is it possible that these umpires that we saw this week are making some sort of a statement? Trying to be like, fine, you want to do a pitch clock? I'm going to fuck you with the pitch clock.
Well, and the idea was that they could be discerning as to when they started the clock and so in that Bellinger situation, they should have had the thought process that, hey, there's going to be a big ovation. He's a hometown hero, won an MVP here, won a World Series with this team. So he's going to get a big ovation on his first at bat back. Everybody knows that. We all knew, all the fans knew, so the umps should know. And so he should have just kind of been like, all right, I'm going to give this its moment. I'm going to start the pitch clock as soon as Belly gets in the box. But instead, he's supposed to blow his timeout that he has? Estuary Ruiz, I guess, is supposed to take his time out there. Like, regardless, even though he's like dealing with his.
But I think he thought he got the timeout. You know what I mean? That was the problem.
Call it. He thought he got an ump timeout and not his own timeout is what he thought. But
because the ump made it look like there was a timeout.
It would be common courtesy to let somebody who's trying to decide whether his freaking hand is broken to have 10 seconds to himself. Like, it's just zero feel in this entire situation.
I agree.
My stepfather used to say, it's like giving a Nazi a flashlight. It lets them think they have some kind of authority.
Yeah.
And you're just giving them this extra power, and they're just running with it. They're like, "Oh yeah, I get to do this now. All right, I'm God."
It's like a mall cop.
There is absolutely no point where any of this is reviewable. You can't claw it back. It's all umpire discretion. So you're like, okay, so the umpire is now in charge of the game. The umpire can decide who gets on base and who doesn't, and it's literally ump show now. Like, the pitcher and the hitter are no longer the ones who decide the outcome of an at-bat.
Yeah, no, that's right. And every single thing is going to fit into a certain parameter of time, at least. And that's measurable where it didn't used to be before. And that's, I think, where so you're not going to notice it mostly. You just notice the game goes fast. But in moments like this where you're going to notice it, it'll just piss you off. There's never the only good result is faster games, which sometimes I don't mind. I'm like, hey, I don't like the 2-hour ones, but when they play one of those ones that would have been like 6 hours needlessly, and it's really 3.5, then I'm like, oh, thank God for the pitch clock. But Josh points out all sports have injury timeouts, right? Yeah. Even in soccer, they add the time at the end. So that's what they need to do. Add extra at-bats for all the at-bats you missed.
Add time. Yeah.
No, anyway, it was a great week, but we should do rakes, flakes, throws, and blows. Don't you think?
Oh, is that what you want to do? I can.
We got to stay on target here tonight. We got Sandra coming on the show. We got poetry to be reading. But you've got a poem.
Oh, you want the poem?
We should get the first poem of the night from Michael Cotton. There's lots of poetry.
This is some fucking stress right now because there's like a real poet in the chat. She showed up early.
You're the poet laureate, Cotton.
I'm the unofficial poet laureate.
Yeah.
You may not realize this, but I named myself that. But here it is.
What else?
What?
You have the authority.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So this, just to let everybody know, this is a terza rima sonnet, or at least a facsimile of such. All right, Cubs
Groovy.
travel west to Chavez Ravine to beat LA in a series of ball, a feat not seen since October 16. Steals, and a steal over the wall, running and throwing with speed. Jackson got jacked up at the end of it all. Wisdom is power, a baseball freed. Defense tried to hold the line. Sadly, offense can't finish the D. Smiley's curve missed 8 out of 9. Los Dodgers connection unseen. Back-to-back jacks, Urias to the pine. Dodgers blue and the A's are green. Off to Oakland to sweep it clean.
Very nice.
And I did write that before the Oakland series. So that wasn't like a late addition after the thing. I was calling my shot.
So what you're telling me is that you're predicting the future in poetry and that you actually have some power. So I'm going to need another poem before tomorrow's series at Wrigley with the very same Dodgers. So yeah, how about a little rakes, flakes, throws and blows? Let's see how the Cubs fared this week.
Today I'm going to show you how to rake.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest rakes I've ever had to do. I mean, how do you go anywhere except for Patrick Wisdom? 5 home runs in 4 games. I mean, he's just killing it. He's driven in 9 runs on 9 hits, only struck out 8 times. He's got more hits than strikeouts this week. That's pretty good. And his OPS for the whole season is over 1,000. And this week it's at 1357. So Patrick Wisdom, everybody. You knew that was coming for rakes.
And while Michael's going through some of this stuff, I'll put up the Cubs hitting numbers and you can look at them yourself. And this is on the season. He's even the raker on the season.
Yeah.
You know, he's got an OPS over 1,000. I don't know if he still is, probably not, but he's got 8 home runs on the year, and that was tied for the major league lead as well. So,
oh yeah, somebody in the chat tell us if Alonso put one on the board today or yesterday.
Yeah. So, how about it? You got a flaker?
I haven't worried about flakes since my grunge days. Remember them?
Okay, so Trey Mancini was the guy that the Cubs and most of us wanted when they actually signed Eric Hosmer.
We were excited.
We were all relieved. Somehow we got Mancini as well as Hosmer. Nobody is relieved anymore. This guy has done nothing in the last week. Well, almost nothing. He has 1 walk. He has an 077 OPS because of that 1 walk, or else it would be 0. And on this season, he's only at a 470 OPS, which is 111 points below the backup catcher, Tucker Barnhart. I mean, Mancini's so bad that it makes Hosmer's 563 OPS this week actually look good in comparison. And Hosmer has not been good.
Yeah, it not been a great start to Trey Mancini. I heard you on the Cubs pod say that, they have to consider what to do with Mancini, but I don't think you knew at that point that he was on a 2-year deal. And that's what the more concerning thing. And then I looked at Mancini's stats and I was like, well, he's kind of been he had the comeback player of the year, and then he's been on the downslide, and he seems like a great dude. He went to Wrigley Field as a kid, and I mean, but as these young guys are knocking at the door in AAA, I mean, you're sitting here on a 2-year Mancini deal. You start wondering about the roster spot. Anyway, shall we move to throws?
Yeah.
My hands to the Lord.
And I'm going to put up the pitching stats too, so you can take a look at those.
All right. Well, it would be really easy to go with Stroman on this one. He was good again. He's been nothing but great this season. But I'm going with Wisniewski this week because hopefully he's turned the corner on what has been a disappointing season so far. But this week, he went 7 innings versus the A's, and hopefully he will see what Sutcliffe saw when he watches the game tape. And that's that he is much more effective when he's throwing like 92 mile per hour versus 94, 95. For whatever reason, those balls are flattening out and people are getting wood on them. Whereas when he's throwing like 92, they've got some action that people are struggling with. So I hope that, maybe he sees that and just pulls it back just a little bit, throws it 90, probably help his, save his arm a little bit too. But, and then in the bullpen, my guy this week is Mark Leiter Jr. He's done nothing but dominate out there. This season, he has 14 strikeouts against 3 hits in 7 1/3 innings.
Wow.
Yeah. That was not the guy we saw last year, but
I didn't even think he was
on this team this year.
I didn't even think he was going to make the team.
Yeah.
Like he was a bubble dude for, even the bull. I mean, not that there's a lot of bullpen to choose from. Like it's kind of, it's already churned a little bit. Like Assad is already gone from it, for example. But yeah, and that's something I want to talk about later too. Is that looks like Cody Hoyer is going to start his rehab assignment within the next couple of weeks, and he's dialing it up at 97. So, how much of an ad is that? I mean, he came in the Madrigal the Kimbrel trade, and we haven't seen him.
He was the best part of that trade at the time, and maybe
still is. So, and
right.
Oh yeah, so we got to do the blows, I guess.
Yeah,
this is the sad part of the situation. So
I haven't worried.
Sorry, that was the wrong one.
You just put your lips.
What's happening?
You just put your lips together and blow.
It didn't want to blow.
It really didn't want to blow.
It didn't want to play.
Yeah. So I mean, really, nobody's been that bad all week. Really, Alzolay had a bad inning, and so did Fulmer. And really, the only difference between those two is that Fulmer keeps getting opportunities to go out there, and then he had a couple of good innings after his bad inning, and Alzolay hasn't been given that shot. So, Alzolay looks like he had the worst week, but he really only pitched 2/3 of an inning. Whereas when Fulmer blew up in 2/3 of an inning, they gave him 2 more innings in the next few games. So, but it's amazing. I'm looking at these, looking for the blows, and I'm just kind of like, I mean, I guess Fulmer and Alzolay, but and Fulmer has been bad, but he's also been good. Like he's like the epitome of your bullpen guy. You really don't know what you're going to get when
they moved him from the 9th to the 8th, and I don't know that made a difference there too, because he did blow that one save, and it was a tight game, only 1-0. But I know I've been pleased. I mean, listen, there's really nothing to complain about this week except for the one loss, and I could complain about it a little bit that we probably should have won. There's ways that the Cubs could have won that game, but overall, I think everybody's feeling pretty happy out there in Cubs land. So I think what we should do right now is take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about a few more things about Matt Mervis for one, and some new rules, some new dumb rules. We'll have something to say about that. And then, oh my God, I can't wait. Sandra Marchetti is going to come on and read some poetry. And anyway, we're just the artsy Cubs show today.
We're the artsy Cubs show every day.
Always. Yeah, pretty much. We're that show. Yeah. So we'll be right back. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/sunranto.
All over Chicagoland, there are thirsty, frazzled, overworked Cubs podcasters who are struggling to survive one more baseball season in the dog-eat-dog world of unpaid content creation. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. Become a super ranter at patreon.com/sunranto, where your support ensures that poor, sad, pathetic, ugly, loser Cubs podcasters can pay for tickets and beer, and in turn line the pockets of the baseball oligarch Ricketts family. Just $1 a month can buy a scorecard. $5 a month can pay for guitar strings to write a Cubs song. And $10 a month almost buys one beer at Wrigley Field. Cubs content creators are the lowest pieces of pond scum garbage that slither over the face of this planet. But super ranters help them get drunk and screw off at baseball games. What do you get out of it? The Son Ranto Show delivered to your podcatcher without stupid advertisements like the one you're seeing and hearing right now. Plus, at other Super Ranter levels, you can get Cubs music, access to private Son Ranto pages, the Ranter calendar, and special thanks and Ranter recognition in our live broadcasts. Plus, eligibility for monthly prizes. What does Son Ranto get out of it? Your money. For tickets and beer. Go to patreon.com/sunranto. That's patreon.com/sunranto. And become a Super Ranter today. Welcome back to the Son Ranto Show. I did want to mention that one of these monthly prizes that's going out this month to one lucky Patreon member is this incredible Wilson Contreras over the Venezuelan flag Matt Camera art piece. So become a Patreon member and you could maybe win this. Also, we're going to have another prize this month, and that is In the Clutch. Our friend Billy DeVore, the Reds broadcaster from the new Nasty Boys, and he comes on this show all the time to tell us about the Reds when they play the Cubs. They've said that they're going to give away a shirt a month from the Son Ranto Show. Basically, you have to be a Patreon member to win. In the Clutch, they do a lot of fun T-shirts. They have a Players Association a license for that. So they've got these fine shirts. We need more cups. And the Sea of Cups is spelled with cups. There's also and it's only $20. Also, Fly the Waffles shirt. And I'm actually currently wearing this shirt. I'll show you. I'm wearing my waffle shirt right now. And also they've got the Left Field Sucks shirt, Right Field Sucks, Stack or Die, also a Cup Snake shirt, and these cool Seiya Suzuki shirts.
Those are dope.
The Gundam style, and also the comic book, which I saw, Michael, you're doing a contest to see which shirt you're going to get, because we're each getting a free shirt. So we each get to pick one shirt as well. It's part of this whole contest thing.
Yeah. So if you go to the Son Ranto Reddit page, you can vote in the poll there. I just don't know which ones to get. And beyond just the Cubs stuff, which actually none of mine are really full on Cubs ones, they have Savannah Bananas, and that's the first choice, right? Then they have Negro Leagues teams, which are awesome. Like, go through and look at some of those. They have some of the coolest Negro Leagues team shirts. They have the Chicago American Giants, which is another option. And then a Shy Feds shirt, which I really like. And then the Seiya comic book one. So go on there, vote, and then leave a comment on there or whatever, so that I know who's been voting. And then I'll put you into the next show. I'll put you into, the drawing, and whoever wins, I will get you an In the Clutch shirt.
So we got two drawings. One that Michael Cotton is doing, and
just doing on my own for the people who vote in my poll.
Yeah, because you didn't know about the In the Clutch drawing. Mm-mm. And so I'm like, oh, Michael's trying to move in on my drawing here. Oh, I see what's going on here. So we actually are giving away two shirts. That's very cool. So vote in Michael's poll, and also become a Patreon member.
Right. And if you're a Patreon member, right, that's the one that Danny's doing. My poll is open for everyone. So if you aren't a Patreon member, you could have a chance.
I'm not
Hashtag chance.
Are you laughing because I said my poll is open for everyone?
Yeah.
It really is, and it always has been.
That reminds me, I'm still undecided which shirt I want, because there are two
which ones
pretty fantastic Shohei Ohtani shirts that I want. There's the one that it's sort of analogous to the Seiya one. It's a whole comic book thing and all very cool. And then there's one that just simply says Shonly fans.
Sure. It's got Shohei like in a suggestive pose.
It's
Like on
just
a
the
mound?
logo. Everything else is your imagination.
They do have a lot of funny and fun shirts there. Like I think I might have to get this one. And the only time I can wear it is probably when Bleacher Bum Band plays because my guitar will be covering Clark's wang. It's the Fly the W shirt. I mean, I just can't pass
So
up
great.
the opportunity to own this shirt. Like I know I
It's
can't
so
wear
great.
it. Yeah, I mean, only if the Cubs played at 11 o'clock at night, maybe I could wear that shirt, at some point, but I could wear it under things, but I have a punk rock band that shirt is appropriate to wear it.
Right.
A Cubs punk rock band. So anyway, in the clutch.com and then check out their Chicago collections and use promo code SUNRANTO for 10% off. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we get going, when we were doing the commercial, I did notice that somebody called me out because he called Mark Leiter Jr. Al Leiter on the the Cubs pod.
You did.
I do it all the time. It is so hard for me to remember because I'm like that old man sort of thing where like your grandparents call their they call you your brother's name and your sister's name, and they just fucking go through everybody's name, and somehow yours is always last. That's me and Al and Mark Leiter.
Well, I got good news for you because Bleacher Jeff did the exact same thing last night at Nisei Lounge while he was feeding me shots of Malort and Old Styles. So he was calling him Al Leiter Jr. too. But all right,
too easy.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, because Al Leiter was somebody that you kind of knew about already because didn't he do broadcasting too?
Yeah, and it's a junior. So it's obviously his son, his illegitimate son.
Different name. He's Mark Leiter Jr. We don't even really know who the Mark Leiter, even though that guy was a pitcher too. Al Leiter was the famous guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mark Leiter was a major league pitcher.
Yeah, but he wasn't as famous as his brother Al. So that's just where we get. All right. Well, let's talk about somebody that should be famous, and that's Matt Mervis.
Yeah.
He's tearing it up. Let me put up the numbers. This is what he's doing in Iowa so far this year. 41 at bats. He's got 12 hits. He's batting 293. OBP of 456, slugging 585 for a 1.041 OPS. He's got 3 home runs in those 41 at bats. And here's the most impressive stat to me. He's struck out only 9 times. That's under 25%. And he has walked 13 times. So he's walked more than he's striking out. And okay, so you've got Hosmini going on at first base. You've got some weird 40-man footsie roster crunch that you've created for yourself for no reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, a roster crunch of just middling guys. 3 or 4 you could just totally get rid of and nobody would notice.
Yeah. So, but I guess my question is, IFG, what day does Matt Mervis come to the Chicago Cubs and start playing?
Yesterday.
I mean, not what you would have done, but what day is this actually going to happen? And what day will you start getting pissed off that it hasn't happened?
Yesterday.
That was yesterday. I'm with you on that, IFG.
I would like it to happen tomorrow. I mean, if I never see Eric Hosmer again, I would be perfectly content.
He hit a home run today, don't you know?
I don't care. I didn't watch it. I was at work. But yeah, no, Eric Hosmer is there specifically and only to block Matt Mervis. So I'm fine if he goes away, like as soon as possible, really.
Yeah. Michael, do you have a date? And tell us in the chat what day that is for you guys. Like I think this is sarcasm, but David Elliott, whose birthday is coming up, by the way, he turns 83 this Saturday. But Mervis is not, quote unquote, major league ready. No indication of how we know he is ready, besides tearing it up.
Yeah.
But do you have a date in mind?
When are they playing in Colorado? Because for some reason the Cubs seem to like bringing guys up in
I don't remember that being anywhere near us on the schedule.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know when it is.
I
But
could look
that
it up.
that would be my just random guess. But it really should be just literally any day.
Yeah, that I don't think that we'd play the Rockies in Colorado until like September.
So Terry says Mervis is
I was just trying to put that one up there too.
Mervis is not coming anytime soon. This is a Chris Bryant service time thing, but I don't think that's true because they fixed that.
No, they did not.
Mm-mm.
They absolutely did not fix that.
Well, then
The
They
only
made an
thing
adjustment that applies to like 4 people.
Yeah. So if a player comes up and gets like rookie of the year or top 2 or something like that, rookie of the year or any of the major awards, then the service time is a whole year for that year, no matter
retrospectively or something. Okay.
right.
But I'm
that
still
didn't fix it
seeing
for anybody.
But I am still seeing out there on Twitter, like, which is of course always true. No, I've seen multiple times that it is not an issue right now with Matt Mervis for whatever reason, that we are past whatever day that would have kicked in, that it's not fixed for the players, that we are that because it's April 19th, that we're past that moment where it would be a problem, because there's also like somebody could have gotten injured and then you would have to bring him up, and then you've got no choice but to start the clock on that situation, you know. But I'm told that it won't matter. But if somebody knows better than that, because I know all the rules are slightly new,
and it might,
I don't care either. I don't care
anymore. We might be beyond it, because like when KB came up, that was like 15 days. That was it. Like all they needed was 15 days.
Doesn't
and he
matter.
came up 15 days later. So Mervis could totally be beyond whatever that day is, and he'd be allowed to come up at any time without
the service time thing. I'm saying that that's not even a point. Like that shouldn't even matter at this point. What matters is that this guy's tearing it up, and you're not getting production out of the first base spot.
Yeah.
And you've got a situation where Hosmer, and that's the 1-for-1 trade. Hosmer is off the 40-man. Mervis is on the 40-man. You've got Mancini. If you still got to go there because it's a 2-year deal, he's still going to be in there. You can still protect him. He can get his at-bats and DH when you can put him in the DH. And I'm kind of with you that it's yesterday, but part of me thinks that you also have a situation where they broke with the wrong team. To me, they broke with the completely wrong team. Like
they absolutely did.
Like here, I'll put these guys back up here.
And this is here's the craziest part of this, Danny. They broke with the wrong team, and they are currently in second place. And they are actually playing really well right now.
Right.
And it is so hard to make that argument that they broke with the wrong team
when they're winning.
When they're winning.
Great point, though.
But the truth is the truth. Like this, I said it the other day on the Cubs pod. I'm not pissed anymore that they brought the wrong guys up because they're not playing well. I'm pissed because this team could actually be that much better and really make a push with a couple more guys from AAA.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that Patrick Wisdom, who's not a natural right fielder, although better than Mr. Boner, and better than Mancini, who is supposed to be able to do it. You still have Nelson Velasquez down, and he was just here. All he did was hit a go-ahead grand slam, and for his troubles, got sent back to the minor leagues.
That'll teach him.
But yeah, you're looking at this and you're looking at the bottom numbers. I got this sorted by OPS. You're looking at these bottom numbers. One of them's already gone. The bottom number's gone, Miles Mastrobuoni. Then you look at Edwin Rios, who's just a pure DH. Like he doesn't play in the field. They don't have him out there too much. Like I don't think he's played. Has he even played an inning? I don't know. Then you got Mancini, who you're going to keep. And then, but then you look up and you're like, I still see Madrigal as a little expendable. I think he's got a lot of, not expendable, that's the wrong word. I think he's got a lot of, he's got a role. He gets on base. He can get that base hit when you need it. But I almost think of him as like a right-handed Tommy.
Let's do that.
Like what?
He's amazing. He's wonderful. Somebody should take him off our hands.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
some team that needs a second baseman, like maybe, I don't know, the Mariners, the Chicago White Sox could use
he's kind of nice in the 9-hole, right? Because late in, so many 9
the
batters
bench.
are terrible. He's sitting down there and, he's just getting on in front of Horner and Swanson and Happ, and maybe that's good. It's, that old, what was it? The old Madden second leadoff hitter sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He
When you
kind of works in that.
Yeah, when you batted the pitcher 8th kind of thing is when he was doing that. But no, but certain names that are expendable to me, and I know what they're doing with Luis Torrens because they want to carry that extra catcher because they don't want to find themselves flat-footed because they don't have anybody else ready to come up. And maybe there's some waiver wire guy out there or somebody they can pick up somewhere that can do it.
And if anybody's wondering, at Iowa, we have Dom Nunez, who is, I think, 29 years old.
Yeah, I mean, and so yeah, they're trying to avoid
really
that.
Have a spot down there to bring somebody up.
Either way, but you can. I'm just saying he's probably not the guy to go at this point, but he probably is wasting a roster spot as well. But when you look at you could easily see Rios going. You could easily see Hosmer just being off the team, and then and he's not doing terribly, but why are we fucking around with this? I just don't understand why we're fucking around. And I agree, IFG, that it should have been yesterday, and that Hosmer, the moment they got Mancini, they should have just given the job. They should have just given the job right to Mervis based upon his work in spring training, but they had a plan for him and they sent him to spring training camp halfway through camp. So, we already knew it wasn't going to happen.
This reeks of the whole Nico Horner thing. You remember Nico had to come up because every shortstop that's ever been a Cub got injured at one time. And so they brought him off the couch from Tennessee. He was literally on the couch at home. They brought him in. He played the last 2 weeks of the season, played well, came in the next year. I think some injuries got him some time the next year and he played, did well again. And then they're just like, no, he still needs to go to AAA because he hasn't had enough at bats in AAA. That never worked for Nico. He's been good ever since he came up. He was ready, even though he was sitting on a couch in fucking September at the end of the AA season. He was ready for the major leagues. When a guy's ready, a guy's ready. Put these fucking math books away. You cannot do that. You can't just fucking look at these certain numbers and just say this works for everyone. Some people just do it different at one level versus another, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it, but you can't fucking be beholden to these numbers like they're set in stone.
Yeah. And this,
Danny, you leaned back, and I thought while I was talking, you leaned back and you had kind of a pissed off look on your face, and I thought, Danny's about to come back hard. He's about to bitch.
Instead, I disagreed.
And you, yeah.
Ooh, kitty sighting. Kitty sighting. Hello. So this from Blake Beard, per Bleacher Nation, note that service time considerations are no longer an issue here, if they ever were. We are past the 15-day mark when Mervis could accrue a full big league service year. And he also says if he had been on the 40-man, it would have been 20 days, and that would have lapsed today. So, yeah, it does not matter. So what are we doing here? I just want to see yeah. And add to it, I don't know. I want to even get into Velasquez and all that stuff, right, and Morel, and the argument we have is more of an esoteric argument. I think is more what you're saying, which is if a guy is capable of succeeding at that level, let that happen and let his star rise. Other teams, we're so, I don't know, we've gotten, our brains have gotten fantasy baseballs a little bit, yeah, or video games where you just put them in the minors.
to me, the business of baseball and like the sport of baseball are two very, very different things. And it's like, it seems, and maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it just seems like in the last few years that the business part of it has become more of a sport than the actual sport.
Yeah.
Like where the commercials are about gambling and the fucking building the sports book and, you know, everything is fantasy this and day trading that and you know, here's my picks and I'm like, I don't care. Bring up the fun boys and let them hit some damn balls.
So on that note, who's your picks for the next series there, IFG? Who's your pick to click?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. I don't care.
And
Bring up the fun boys and let them hit some baseballs. That's
right.
my pick.
And here's the other thing about Mervis. Like when you looked at those numbers earlier, he's hitting 293. He's walking more than he struck out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe some people don't quite understand what that means. No one is pitching to Mervis. That 293 is not
it's like a 450 in the real world.
Yeah, that's not like great pitches. He's not getting grooved pitches where he's just killing it.
No.
He is having to work to get that 293.
To even get a pitch. It's
to
like,
get it, he's got to work to get a pitch.
Yeah, he's getting pitched around and still hitting 300.
Exactly. And that was the thing that I just kind of wanted to point out. Like, that is how good, because if you look, there are a couple of guys hitting better than him. Morel, 333. But
don't get into it. Don't start me on Morel.
I know,
already got a shirt.
But I want to make sure people understand that doesn't mean that Mervis is actually hitting worse than Morel. It means that Morel gets better pitches because he's more likely to strike out than Mervis is.
Yeah, yeah. My day, I guess, if I'm gonna think like the Cubs, which, you know, I don't really want to do, I'd rather think like myself and just go back in time and just have them break with the goddamn team. But I would say that there's got to be some time where they're going to reevaluate it, and I kind of like what Gordo said on the Cubs. Was it Cubs Talk? No, it's the Recap podcast now.
Yeah, Recap now.
On the Recap podcast with Kaplan. He was like, yeah, this is kind of a thing that teams do at the quarter mark, the 40 game mark. They look at their team and say, all right, what can we do? So, and it would be a little bit of one of those things. If they break with the team, it's almost like you got egg on your face. If you're like, oh, we screwed up. Yeah, we got to do this. And it looks panicky. It feels panicky. You have real human beings who have been now traveling together, starting this season together. Those moments must be hard. I remember being in casts when somebody got fired from the cast. One time it was my roommate that got fired from the cast. Now I was without a roommate. And, you know,
so you were happy as hell. You're like, room to myself.
No, because now I had to pay the whole rent.
Oh,
I was not happy. And it was my roommate and friend. I mean, and it was a sad moment. It was hugging and crying, you know. So that's what those moments are for these guys. Hosmer, maybe everybody likes him. He's by all accounts, he's supposed to be an awesome clubhouse guy, and like, you know, but
they got a lot of awesome clubhouse guys.
Exactly. We don't. Yeah, I mean, how many you need? Like Morel seems like pretty awesome clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
Probably one of the. He's a great guy. I know that from just meeting him.
Yep. I do want to point out Sandra Marchetti in the private chat. I checked on the private chat. I saw there's something in there, and she's chiming in. Mervis, he's hitting lefties and he's getting Barry Bonds treatment. So yeah. She's in on this, even though she's not in the regular chat. She's in our chat. I wanted to point out that she is
fully engaged
fully engaged.
She's going to tell us about it in about 5 minutes anyway, live and in person through poetry. But if I'm looking at the schedule here and I'm trying to think, like, you know, is there a good time when, you know, they usually do this thing on like an off day. So maybe like they have an off day between playing LA and San Diego. That's on Monday. That's really soon. But if you're going more like the 40 mark, you know, maybe right before they go to Minnesota, that could be the time when they did. That's when I believe when they brought Schwarber up, That's on May 11th. They have an off
They
day.
brought Schwarber up before they went to Cleveland, but only because there was no DH in the National League.
Right.
And since they were going to Cleveland, they were going to get one. They thought they'd bring him up, but now the world is different and everybody is exactly the same. And it's white bread, fucking dry toast everywhere.
Especially in the
there's
Cubs
no.
dugout.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. Cubs so white. But you're spending a long time on the road in the middle of May. There's a lot of you've got from May 11th to May 22nd. You go from Minnesota to Houston to Philly with 3 off days in there. So it's got to be one of those off days. If not, like, might even be a good idea to like debut a dude on the road and not at Wrigley, where like the pressure is a lot higher.
That's why they always seem to do it in Colorado. Like, I think that they would put him in Colorado because the air's thin and they might hit a dong, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And Javi did on Javi's debut.
He struck out 4 times and then won the game in the 10th.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
God, I miss Javi. I miss my idea of what Javi was anyway. So you know what? I'm going to cut the new rules segment because we're running a little long, but we are going to talk about that in the Discord after the show. That'll be something I'd like to talk about, but is the designated runner.
It's the dumbest
what the
thing
fuck did
I've
I
ever
say?
heard in my life.
I have been calling this shit forever. We're gonna get designated hitter, designated runner, and then they're gonna do
designated catcher.
pretty soon, we're gonna have an offense and a defense. It's gonna be football, and they're all gonna play different. They're gonna have to have 4 dugouts, right?
I said we're gonna talk about this on the Discord. I knew you couldn't help yourself. You just hear the word designated and get mad now. One disengagement and the double hook rule, otherwise known as the Danny Rocket rule, and I will go to my grave saying that I didn't make it up, but I was the first person to put the rule in print, which is being basically having your DH only for your starting pitcher, and then needing to double switch after that and maintain.
Anti-labor position as a labor rights person, I hate it. Because you made
a good point with that.
Whoever's playing a DH, whoever is the DH is going to feel that in their salary. That's going to show up in arbitration that they didn't have as many at-bats because they're on a team that has a shitty pitching staff. And by the way, why are we punishing an entire team for having a pitcher in a blowout? So, like, what? The guy gives up 7 runs in an inning, and now the entire team gets less offense to come back with? Why is that logical?
Yeah, no, there's holes in the plan, no doubt. They're going to find out in the Atlantic League. But no, I agree with you. But I also, when I proposed this rule, it was to save pitchers hitting. It was to save the strategy of that moment.
Yeah, but nobody cares about pitchers hitting because they're bad at it.
That's not true at all. IFG.
It's pretty true.
I fucking care about it. And it's not just about pitchers hitting. Everybody talks about it's all about offense. Well, let me tell you, the DH isn't a real fucking position. How many who is the Cubs DH? There's Luis
Torrens.
Because there's 8 fucking DHs, right? And you want to talk about the DH thing coming into hurting labor? Well, when they just don't use you get 12 at bats in the first 50 games because they pump you into DH every so often. That's going to hurt too. Look, the DH isn't a real position. Nobody has ever really used that as one hitter. That's just not how the rule has really ever worked. The most it was ever used that way was 1983, and half the AL teams did it. Half, not all, half. So it's even less now. So don't fucking get into this DH bullshit. Look,
how many times have I said that to you?
I truly believe on the defensive side, you talk about, you're getting beat. We need more offense. Well, guess what? You know what a pitcher really likes to fucking see when he's out there struggling on a mound? Another fucking pitcher showing up. Or maybe a pinch hitter who hasn't fucking played in 8 days.
Look,
that's what they want. So it's fucking helping the pitcher as well.
I
So
really don't.
Only offense.
I don't think that the answer to your struggle, because we do live in a DH inflicted world now, and now every national league, now every
Bullshit.
National
That's
League,
not a fucking argument.
Just
because
my argument out
didn't mean it was fucking right.
My
it just meant that there were slaves. That's a fucking bullshit argument. You can't just say, well, now that we have the DH, now we have to play the game. No, it's still fucking wrong.
What I'm saying is, because we're already playing every American League team every year, we're already going to have about 25% of our games are going to have a DH anyway. So we already have to fill that position no matter what, even if it is just with random guys off the bench.
You know how much
I
fun
definitely
that was
don't
to figure out who the fuck was going to do that for the 25%?
I would love. Hey,
and if
nobody
really
wants the Cubs to make better roster decisions more than me.
League. We should be playing the National League, and then freaking come together at the end to see which fucking side of baseball wins. That's the fucking joy of baseball. You don't make it all the fucking same. This isn't goddamn NFL, NHL, NBA bullshit. Different rules are good.
I agree with you. Look, one of my favorite baseball players is Carlos Zambrano, and it breaks my heart that he's never coming back. But I don't think the answer to that is to make the only hitting pitchers be the relievers. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do.
Nobody wants to see Pedro Strop at bat.
The relievers.
I do.
The relievers never did hit. They were all
exactly.
There was all.
But now they'll have to if you do this double hook thing.
Travis Wood. I'm going to bring up the one guy that could hit.
Oh my gosh, the one guy out of 8,000 relievers, one guy hit a ball well one time.
How about this? Carl Edwards Jr. took an at-bat, and I wrote a song about that at-bat called Carl Edwards Jr.
And you destroyed his career with it.
Yeah, well, no, he's still out there.
It's your fault.
And then I won a contest, and I got to sit in a suite at both the Sox game and at the Cubs game, where I snuck Johnny Onomatopoeia up to the suite with passing back tickets. So all this came from a pitcher hitting, a relief pitcher, all of it, and none of that would have happened. John Baker, a reliever who won the game after pitching as a position player, won the game. At least this entire world for me. So, like, for me personally, the weirder baseball can get, the tiny, the outlier.
I can't get out of my head. I can't get out of my head Joe Madden making Pedro Strop bat for himself in a situation that made absolutely no sense.
But that's a Joe Madden problem. That's not a fucking Pedro Strop or a DH problem. That was one of the dumbest things Joe Madden ever did in his entire career.
And I will never forgive him for it.
And you shouldn't, but you also shouldn't use that as an argument for a fucking DH because it doesn't make any sense.
I don't have to argue for the DH. It's already here. I'm trying to argue against the double hook, which is terrible.
Yeah. She's anti-DH. Yeah. Where'd you get the idea that she likes the DH?
Because she started talking about how you can't have
I can't undo the fact that the DH is in the National League now. I'm sorry. I wish I could. But I can try to prevent dumber things from happening, like pinch runners that can come back into the game afterwards.
Okay. I'll give you that, but
that's all dumb.
Look,
it's all very dumb.
I just want to go on record and say, hey, I called this fucking forever ago.
Yeah, you did.
I said this shit was going to happen. I said it was going to be pinch runners.
Yeah.
I said the American League and the National League are just going to become one league. It's all the same.
Now, my prediction is they're trying to get the game to under an hour and a half.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, that's going to...
The one engagement thing, which is stupid. That just means, like, take 4 steps off of first base and you get second base. Yeah, that's all I can figure is they're trying to get it under an hour and a half and get it as manipulatable as possible, so that it's nice and compact and easy to do the math on for the gambling houses.
Yeah, and not to mention not having to pay staff for
Absolutely.
one less hour, and maybe that keeps you. You know how like Walmart's like, no, you're not full time. We'll give you 31 hours. You know,
Yep.
and then so David Elliott with a good point in the chat. Welcome, Sandra Marchetti.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Sandy.
Yeah,
Michael,
Michael,
carried
pull
away
the
when
string.
I think people are trying to argue for the DH, which is one of the worst.
Nobody was even arguing for it. You were.
I believe she was. I think she was. I don't know.
No,
Maybe
she
you weren't.
wasn't.
And if you weren't, my bad.
I love you, Michael Cotton.
Well, you can't hear anybody talking when you're screaming. So, all right, we'll be right back after this commercial break, and
I feel
with
better.
Sandra Marchetti. I bet you do.
Hey, Cubs fans, at Amazon.com, do you buy lots of stuff? Why not support the Son Ranto Show by shopping through sonranto.com/stuff? All you gotta do is fill your cart at Amazon with lots of stuff. Then before you check out with all of that wonderful stuff, head on over to sonranto.com/stuff and click any of our Amazon links before you buy your stuff. Check out like you normally would with all that beautiful stuff. And the Son Ranto Show will get a small kickback because of the stuff you bought. And you'll be helping in the Son Ranto Show buy all the stuff we need to stay on the air talking about the Cubs and other stuff. Plus, you could win a monthly prize if some of your stuff is chosen for Amazon stuff of the month. And if you win, we'll send you more stuff. Sonranto.com/stuff. That address again is sonranto.com/stuff.
And we will be picking the Amazon winner at the beginning of May, and whatever the first show of May. It looks like it'll probably be on May 4th, which is also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
And also with you. And with your spirit.
Oh, you went to one of those churches doing the whole Lord's Prayer at your thing. The Catholics stop in the middle, the priest says something, and then we go on. Like I would always be at the Protestant, like a funeral or somewhere. I'd never been to Protestant church, and then I'm like, who added something to the Lord's Prayer? Never even heard this part. Thine is the kingdom. Where are we going with this, everybody? And where are we going with this show? I know. We're going to Sandra Marchetti, who's written a book called Aisle 228. And I read it today, and it's a book of poetry. And welcome to the show, Sandra.
That's high praise. I read it today. I appreciate that.
No, I loved it. And first of all,
I read it today too, and I also enjoyed it.
I have not read it yet, but I look forward to it.
To be fair,
giving you a hard time.
It's brand new, right?
Oh yeah, no, it just came out this week. It is brand new. The pre-orders are just shipping out to anybody who bought them. I haven't even seen a copy in the wild. There are copies at my house. So yeah, you guys are way ahead.
Here's a picture of the book. Aisle 228 poems, and the photo that you put on the front. And I'm so honored by this, Sandra. I can't even tell you. This is a picture I think I took back in 2014, maybe 15 or something like that. It was actually from my phone, like an old phone, like a iPhone 4S or something like that. And it's a pretty good picture of the moon over Wrigley Field. And you contacted me, and we've been in touch over the years about poetry because I'm a songwriter and you're a poet. And so we have that in common. You contacted me about this photograph, and I'm just so honored to be a part of such a cool book of poems, so I did read it today, and the poetry washed over me in a way that brought me to Terrace Reserved, and not in just specifically Terrace Reserve, which is 228 where you sat, but also to the upper
It
deck.
reminded him of the rally titties.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty much where I was sitting, where I took it. Yeah, pretty darn close. So, but going to the games, you said something in the interview about going to the games and sitting in the back row of upper deck reserved with your dad and your mom and going with your family. I had the exact same experience, 1983, watching those games in the back row. We loved the back row because you could see the city too, and you felt like you had air up there. And we would climb all the way up. And I believe there was a time where that section was even general admission, parts of it, and you could just kind of sit wherever you wanted up there for $3.50 or something like that. And when I read your poetry today, it reminded me of all those things before I read the interview, which is at the end of the book. So I was like, oh, this reminds me of that moment. And then it reminds me of this moment. And then you talked about it, and and so that's what it was reminding me of in my soul, and what it was evoking within me was these feelings. And even when you weren't even speaking of that specifically in your poetry. And so, anyway, I just wanted, there's my high praise. So
that's a review. That's a review. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I found the upper deck next to sort of like the chain link fence in the last row to be scary as crap. But I was like under 5 years old probably, so that's why. But yes, I have a really distinct, like, I mean, we all have those really early memories, and I have a really distinct memory of being up there and seeing the city, like you say, and seeing the sky, and be able to see everything through that chain link fence, but also being, absolutely scared shitless that I was gonna fall out of the stadium. So even with my parents right there, like holding me. So yeah, but those childhood memories definitely all pop up in this book, and I'm glad that other folks are like linking in with that. That's lovely to hear.
would you mind, just so everybody can hear a poem, would you mind reading one and just sharing something that you've written with us?
Yeah, sure. So I took requests today, which was great. Between Michael and Danny here, you guys like put together about 5 poems, and they're all very short. So I'll just start by reading one or two. And I've sort of have them in order here. So this one's from very early on in the book, and I actually started writing this book in 2014. So, the team was bad, as we know, but we also had, by the end of the year, we had some hope, right? Javi Baez was up and all these things. So this is one of the very early poems that I wrote, The Unsayable. The Chicago Cubs went 108 years between the World Series championships. That's sort of your epigraph there. If it never happened, would we go on buying the season tickets, scuffling through the turnstiles, slowed at the bag check? If it never happened, would we split a pizza and a pop, a bag of chips or a beer, huddling as we handed over the cash? If it never happened, would we still applaud the blue pennant tentative to ascend the flagpole after a series win? If it never happened, would we root on a 500 club, be pleased with less than 200 strikeouts, 20 errors at short? We flicker in our seats, dimly recede, but never leave.
Yeah. So I absolutely love that poem. And what's funny is like you said, it's early in the book, and it's part of your chapter that's entitled Losers, because they were not winning at the time. But what it made me think is, kind of like where we're at in Cub fandom now. Right. Because we did win. Yeah. So like I get where you were at that moment, and talking about it. And so, you know, I could put my head there, but then I also reading it now, I'm almost asking the same question. And so the poem works on both levels. It's like this part where we were before. Would we still be doing this if they hadn't won? And you could imagine the Cubs never won it in 16. And are we still going to be doing this? And now, because they did win it, and now we can ask, like, would we be there? Because right now it's a little tough. I mean, this show, this is our bread and butter, is like, we're struggling with a little bit of, they should be better.
Yeah,
So.
right. And I think like what we find, and part of the people are like, you wrote a whole book of baseball poems, and it's like, baseball is, and you do it after every game, you know, so I'm preaching to the choir here, but like, baseball is a great metaphor for life. That's part of the reason we love it. We also love it because it's competitive. We also love it because it's the soundtrack of our lives. But you know, it is such a great metaphor. And I think you're right. We're right back there. And it's really ironic and weird. Like, this book was mostly done by 2017, mostly written. And now it's coming out 5 years after that. And it's like, wow, you know, which part am I identifying with more? Is it the loser's part or the winner's part? But that cyclical nature of things, and complaining about ownership, and it's all sort of evergreen, you know, like, and I think as Cubs fans, even at the end of the book where the Cubs do win the World Series, like, spoiler alert, there's a real bittersweetness to that. And there's a part of there's like a melancholy part of the Cubs psyche that I don't think ever goes away. You know, think about like us complaining about Joe Madden pitching changes in the World Series, even though we won. Like, it's just part of our identity. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I think, like, you know, the long-suffering Cubs fan is very much a part of our fandom identity. Yeah. And I don't think that goes away just because we won a ring.
Absolutely not. You know, I think there's even a part of us and the way that we work. Like, my dad is the fan in this book that I watch the most games with and go to these games with. And I think there's a part of us that feels like we're jinxing the team. You know, he wouldn't admit that, but jinxing the team if we speak too highly about them. Like, don't want to get too excited about anything. You know?
My gosh, no. I remember, my goodness. I remember in 2008, like, I was terrified to like get my hopes up. You know, like, they were so good. That team was so good until they weren't. And I was like, I can't get my hopes up. Like, it's not going to be this year. I can't. If I hope too much, they're going to collapse. And then they did. And I was justified. And so, like,
it's your fault.
2015 came around. And so when 2015 came around, I was like, I can't hope because it'll ruin it. And then they didn't do it. And then I was like, I did it again.
There were at least 2 or 3 poems in the book where I think that you actually said directly that, like, it was my fault. Like, whatever you were doing in the poem. Like, I can't remember which one it was, but it was Dempster in the playoffs. Yes. And you're like, it was my fault. I wasn't where I was supposed to be watching this.
Yeah,
game.
Right. Like, I should have been with somebody else. I should have been in a specific location, you know, or also work, like, thinking about if they or when they do finally win, where will I be? Who will I be with? How will I pick the right setting or scenario to cause the stars to align, you know? And maybe that's just because I have a control problem, but we know so many baseball fans and players are like that. So.
Where were you? Where were you?
Yeah,
on,
where were you?
That November evening to align those stars?
You know, I'm gonna take it back just to the beginning of the World Series very briefly. So the first game I watched with my dad at his house, and it did not go well. Obviously. And then the third game, I went down to Wrigley Field with my father. He had a ticket and I did not. And I was like wandering the streets outside. I'm not a big bar person. Don't hate me, but And there was like free food on the streets, and like the Starbucks was there giving free refills, and it was a warm night. So that was actually amazing. And they lost. And so I said, okay, I need to go back to my apartment with my husband and just sit on the couch, because I think I had been there for the LA series. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And I was there with I wish I had it in front of me. I have a old school like weather radio, and I was listening on that. I had the sound down on the TV, and I was like thumping the floor with my hand and like crying and like just my poor husband, who's really not a huge sports fan, although he's an athlete. I mean, he just had to deal with all of this crap. All that, I'm sure neighbors thought there was a domestic violence problem upstairs. Like, I mean, it was really ugly. My husband is definitely still scarred. He's in the chat. He's saying, I'm Sandy's husband. I helped soothe the artist.
Hi, Scott.
Yeah.
Hi, Scott.
Yeah.
That's one thing that really spoke to me too in the book is your love of the radio. And the crackle of the radio you talk about is one of my favorite parts. I listened on the radio today, even though Zach Zaidman was on, and I agree with Michael. He does a better job because he doesn't have to do all the stupid ads, and he's getting better. Yeah, I've got an old boom box, and I've got a couple of grandma radios. That's what I call my grandma radios. My grandma had one just like it, listening to WBBM news and the traffic and weather and all that stuff. Even though she didn't drive anywhere or go outside, she had to know what the weather. But no, it just your romanticism about that really shines through as well. It's just a beautiful. And I want to also mention real quick that I did drop a link. Yeah, Dominic Galoro says just place an order. Can't wait to read them. I dropped a link in the chat, and there's also where you can purchase this, and it's Tamu Press /book and then a bunch of numbers. So but maybe you can just Google that. It's Aisle 228 is the name of the book, and Home Run 30 for 30% off. Or don't use that code and Sandra gets more money.
That's true. I mean, that is true, but I really want you to use the code because it's only like good for the next 10 days. So please use it. The book is back ordered on Amazon. People bought it, which is great. So you just have to go to the publisher, but the link is there. And you can always hit me up on Twitter if you can't find it, or if you want a signed copy or whatever, my handle is there. So
very cool. And would you read another poem for us?
Yes, of course. I will read one about the radio. That was a request. Driving through the foothills of Western Pennsylvania. I've listened to 3 games tonight, and I don't know where my head is. Meaningless teams chew the miles between losing and lost. Headlights billow up dark branches. It is always the bottom of the 9th. Suspending no from yes, the pitcher finally shakes his catcher. In the only game I see, the score never changes.
Yeah. That's like it's I got chills on my body, like all over, like that. That is just evokes so much. Like I've traveled those roads, and so I've seen it there, and I've listened to those crackly ball games, on the long trip, and
it honestly made me think of IFG, sitting up all night long watching Japanese baseball, Chinese baseball, all the stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, on my first book tour, I listened to a ton of Cubs games on the radio. I mean, I always am listening to the Cubs on the radio. That's one of the beautiful things about baseball is you don't need to see every pitch, and it's almost like you're not supposed to, like it's not like football where it's appointment viewing and it's once a week. And
unfortunately, we've seen some umps that agree with you.
Could not be further from the truth. Yeah, couldn't be truer. I'm sorry, but yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing is we're like taking walks. There was a poem I wrote while in quarantine about how like it was June and there wasn't any baseball on the radio, and I was out taking a walk, and it was just freaking weird. But yeah, when I was on my first book tour, I would listen to, as I drove from time zone to time zone, I'm listening to a different game. And I just, places like Western Pennsylvania where there's a lot of hills. I mean, I'm thoroughly Midwestern. it's way too scary up there, especially in the dark. So I'm clinging to my baseball. I mean, this is very memoir-esque. This is real. It happened to me. I was in Pittsburgh for an event, and coming home past 1 a.m. in the mountains, it's scary. So, baseball was there for me.
Yeah, those woods in the east really press tight on the roads.
Yeah.
You
The
look,
rocks.
Yeah, you look over and you're just like, yeah, you don't know what's behind just that first row of trees because it is so dark in there. Yeah, I'm with you.
100%.
So how about another poem? Would you mind?
No, I am.
I don't want to give. I don't want to give away
read them all. We're here all night.
There's
I'm
50
in.
poems in the book, so even if I read 5, 6 of them, there's no way I'm giving it away.
Give us one more, and let everybody else read them in the book. And you know what? Then we'll just have you back on, and we'll read more poems. Because this is awesome.
Okay, amazing. I'm gonna read one that I would consider sort of timeless. There's a whole section in the book of sort of World Series poems, but I'm gonna wait on those. I'm gonna have you read the book. This poem is a little more of I don't know. It's not about Major League Baseball. It's not about the Cubs. It's about baseball in general, right? Without all these crappy problems that we were discussing, or you guys were discussing earlier, I think. Twilight. Some young men play catch in a field, call each other on balls and strikes. How can they possibly know? Dancing through the grass, one high, then low, and up again. Just outside, the seams slap old leather. How can we know where the strike zone is? Imaginary cube, filament I could not hold in my hand. I asked, how can you tell? And my father said, watch. You'll learn. You'll know. They play rhythmic and swift until the young men are gone.
Oh, yes. That was another one that I loved. And for so many reasons, just the like you say, it is timeless, and it doesn't have to be about major league players or whatever. It's the feeling of any game that children are playing. They are making up the rules. I mean, baseball has rules, but you're creating them as we go. And you start the book with the quote, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Which is funny because it's from Moneyball, which is anti-romance of baseball.
Yeah.
But but this poem, like, it's definitely like you feel the ball hitting the mitt and the kids like agreeing.
Well,
there's an agreement out there that you don't feel in the world all the time. It's like, no, that's a strike. And they're not fighting. They're like, yeah, it's a strike, or it's not, or whatever. And there's such a unity in that. And and I really did love it. And then, I mean, when you talk about actual, like, the major leagues of baseball, like, it made me also think about the pitch tracks box. I enjoyed the game better when that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I trusted the ump more. Right. I trusted the ump more. I was a happier person when there was no box out there.
Well, John Baker would talk about this too. In the first John Baker Day, I remember one of the things that he said, because somebody asked him who his favorite umpire was, and John said it's Joe West, and everybody was like, "What?" They lost their minds. Like, oh, you got to be kidding me! Joe West, he's the worst of all of them. He says no because he's fair, and then it sparked this conversation about the human element of umpiring. And the fact that the players will have relationships with the umpires, long-standing relationships over an entire career that matter. and that to them it's part of the game. So everybody's asking him about robot umps, and John's like, I'm against them, because what I want to watch is humans do something. Let's watch the humans decide what is a strike and what is a ball, and that comes to, like, even politically, we're always deciding in our society, is this a strike, is this a ball, is this an offense, is this not an offense, and it's constantly being crafted. And so it's part of the poetry of the game, because it's human poetry. You put a computer on it, or if like Chat GPT had written that poem, you know what I mean? Like, it might win a poetry award, but it wasn't written by a human,
Yeah.
And that's why this is the artsy Cubs
I always
podcast.
say that baseball is I always like to say that baseball is both science and religion.
Yeah.
And I just can't get over it. I feel like you've written a psalm.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yep.
It's a sonnet. It's not as good as Michael's. It's not Terza Rima. But what I will say is that, I do think that it's very important for us to kind of see that, things are changing, right, in a good way. Like, the whole idea of the game, we hear about this all the time, is like, it's a game of adjustments. And even these kids, or me learning the strike zone as a kid, it's all about those adjustments. It's all about those flickers of the camera shutter, and the strike zone's moving up or down depending on how tall a batter is, or these kids kind of moving down the shoreline, playing catch, things change. They're maybe on a hill, but also on the other hand, like, I had these friends, when I was in college, and they were like, I just feel like it's weird now to be playing a young person's game. Like, as I'm getting older, sports seem so trivial to me, but with the people in this poem, they feel like they're going to live forever, and I think we all want to be in that moment when the lines blur and you can't quite see who's playing anymore, and you're just watching the laundry, and it just feels like it always has. That's something we all want.
Yeah, it does feel timeless, eternal.
Oh,
yeah,
you guys are very sweet.
And this podcast specifically, but I know it's out there. Dominic Galoro says baseball is romantic and artistic, and we really do advocate for the art of the game. The numbers definitely have their spot, but I feel like it's, at times it's taking away from the art. We're talking about how the kids in the poem are they're agreeing on a strike zone that nobody can see, but they're doing this. And and then when you talk about in the game, taking that away from the human element and the catcher and the framing and the art that the catcher is doing and the art that the pitcher is doing to fool, like, his job is to create something that isn't there.
Right.
The hitter can't hit it. The ump can't see it. Only his catcher, who knows what's coming, can catch it, and they're working together to create some sort of some sort of art out there to do it. And on the flip side, if the most exciting hitters are the ones that go outside of the box and go for it.
Vladimir Guerrero hitting something, off his shoe tops.
Vladimir Guerrero. Yeah. What I hope is Matt Mervis. I haven't seen him, but based on what I'm seeing from the numbers and the things, I think he might be going outside of the box to make things happen. And God, we could use that on the Cubs.
Well, and know it that we give Joe Madden a lot of guff, and there's definitely things that he screwed up in his tenure, but he did definitely work outside of, I hate this phrase, but outside the box, that he kept the team loose in a certain way where they were more interested in the art of baseball. And I think that, as his style of managing is going away too, where like you have a manager that's managing humans, and he got in that fight with the Angels and said, no, you can't have the nerds coming down here with their spreadsheets.
Right. There's a role for that. There's a role for that, I think, is what he was saying. And Joe's got an ego. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but
No.
but yeah, no, I think his idea is that they are getting a little too involved for me, right? And it's interesting too, like even while I was writing these poems, I was wondering, are they getting too sentimental? Are they getting too romantic? Can they even function as something somebody wants to read, or are they just totally cliche? And it's a similar kind of tug as what I think of happening with the game, right? That idea of, is it getting too statistical? Is it getting too Ivy League? Or are we still holding on to some of those things that make it great? So, there's a lot of tension, I think.
Well, I thank you for writing the book, because I think anybody that's going to read it is going to think about all these things. And the whole point of art is to be evocative and to make you think and feel things. And I hope everybody gets a chance to read it. And I do want to point out before we end here and have a couple of announcements, get out of here, but that you are reading live, and I will be playing music at this event. I'm going to put this up here. Aisle 228 launch party at Cafe Tola number 3, 1625 West Addison. So very close to Wrigley Field on Saturday, May 27th from 2 to 4 p.m. There will be baseball poetry, such as the kind you just heard, live music. That's me. Raffle, empanadas, and coffee. So that sounds like a hell of an event. And I would imagine you'll be there signing copies of this book.
I will be. And if you buy a copy at the launch party, you'll get entered to win a Cafe Tola gift card of equal or more value than the book that you bought. So that's the raffle that we're doing. There's lots of food, tacos, burritos, all that stuff. 2 great performers. So please come out.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. And then you're also in the Chicago area in Elmhurst, Illinois. You'll be at Brew Point Craft, and that's on May 6th. So that's a little bit before. That's even sooner. That's only in a couple weeks. Coffee and cocktails, reading and chat. Saturday, May 6th, 12 to 2, if you're in the suburbs, which I know some people that listen to the show, they are in the suburbs. And then here's your overall book tour. And you're going to be all over the place. In fact, you'll be in Des Moines or Des Moines, as Ron
the
Cooper
F's are
says.
silent, Danny.
Oh, yeah. Is that right, Andra?
Yes, the S's are silent, but the city is buzzing.
Yeah.
But so you're going out there real soon. You got one on April 25th, and that's in Iowa City, Iowa.
City.
Oh,
well-known Cubs.
Which day is that?
Hub. April 25th at 7 p.m.
So
you know what? I'll be there.
Amazing.
I live in Iowa City, and I would love to stop in and get your book and meet you.
Got one audience member for that date. Let's go.
Michael Draga's family.
I love that. Danny just signing up the entire family to go.
So you know what? I'm going to share this out on the Ranters page, and I'll put it on the Discord, which we're having a chat in there very shortly. But there's all sorts of Normal, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, Des Moines, Toledo, Ohio, Indianapolis, Highland Park, Illinois. Yeah, all where all the writers hang, So basically coffee shops and coffee shops and bars. That's where we hang out.
Amen.
Well, very cool. Thank you so much for writing this. And if you get a chance to get the book, I did drop the link in the chat. I will also put that on the Ranters page. I will be tweeting that out, and at Sandra Poetry on Twitter is where you can find everything that you're doing. I would imagine you'll keep announcing everything. Yeah,
absolutely. Ad nauseum.
Good. and I'll be retweeting it ad nauseum. But well, thank you for writing the book, Aisle 228, once again. And we're just gonna have to have you on again some other time.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this has
I'd
been
love
a great.
to rant with you next time, So.
Oh yeah, you never know how things go. You might end up just being a cast member on the show, like pretty
Fine.
easily.
But I need a regular guest starring role somewhere. So
I think you found the place. You just come out and read poetry for us every week
and yell.
Yeah, no, that's
Wait a second. Hold up.
Yeah,
reading poetry and yelling is my job.
Shit.
I kind of feel like
getting
you're
replaced.
pushing me out here.
Yeah, you're getting Wally pipped here, there, Cotton.
Sugus. Sorry, Cotton. I'm done.
I'm prettier than you. I don't know what else to say.
I know. I got nothing here.
Yeah, pretty soon we're all going to be off the show. Just so
It'll just be me and Infield Fly Girl.
Exactly. What happened to this? They rename it and be like, what happened? We just didn't have a show. I got nothing to do on Wednesdays now. So
Danny and I are just FaceTiming each other. And
yeah, we used to have an audience. So
do we have time? Do we have time to give Sandra a trip through the bitch clock?
Well, I'd have to get it up. I don't have it. No, next time we'll do it because I need the bitch clock. I got no wheel. I got to get the whole.
All
thing
right, we're not ready for it.
Yeah. Well, but the bitch clock is definitely. We'll send
whatever whatever that is. It sounds like I'm ready for it. Honestly.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody buy Aisle 228 by Sandra Marchetti. It's an awesome book of 50 poems.
Yeah, 50 poems, but you can read it in an afternoon. Once you wake up from that nap in the 7th inning, that's a perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do it like your daily Cubs devotional.
Yeah. Read one a day. One a day is less than a minute. That's a perfect way to go.
And then meditate on it.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much. And we're going to just say goodbye and hello some other time. Well, see you on Twitter. Thanks, Sandra.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Wow. That was cool. We definitely
great.
are doing that again.
That was fun.
Please don't ever make me cry on this show again. My goodness.
I know that.
Hey, the Cubs are good this year, so I cannot promise that. Or are they good? We'll talk about it in the Discord. We're running up on 2 hours here, like we tend to do. So we didn't even get to all our
2
points.
hours well spent, though. Come
That
on.
was a good 2 hours.
Let's start the Dodgers preview. No, I'm kidding. I do want to mention that we'll have all that stuff on Cubs Pod. We just saw the Dodgers, so we don't really need to talk about who the Dodgers are. We just saw them. We already talked about it. But we will have Cubs Pod for the next 4 games and previews of all the matchups, which basically are the same as the matchups you just saw last week. Exactly. Grove versus Tyone. And then Smiley versus Urias. We just saw this. So
we need to just record a segment about how bad the MLB scheduling is. And then we'll just pop it in there whenever we need it because it's the same fucking thing every time.
Exactly. Just play that and then go with it. And I do want to mention too, just for those that are going to the game, that if you were to the first lucky 10,000 fans, you can get yourself a luggage tag on Friday at the Cubs game.
It's a Jake Arrieta helping you pack your bags luggage tag.
And it's only given to immigrants. So that's what Jake wants. That's what Jake gets. So anyway, hashtag chance in the chat for your chance to win a message of love and doom sent to you on a Frank Chance postcard. And announcements. Happy birthday to Tawny Finneran, Corey's wife, from the IVMV podcast. And also, no, you're wearing the IVMV shirt right now.
IVMV shirt.
Also, one of my co-hosts on the Let Them Eat Cheesecake Golden Girls podcast, which we have not recorded in quite some time, but we'll get to it. Brady is he's got a birthday on Thursday, and as I mentioned before, David Elliott, longtime listener, good friend and fan. We'll be talking to him probably afterwards in the Discord.
83 years old.
83 years young.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, on Saturday. So happy birthday, David. That's very cool. I'd like to also thank Bernie Barron for the bleacher ticket on Saturday. That was pretty awesome that that showed up in my inbox. Bernie's like, hey, you want to go Saturday? Here's a ticket. So that's awesome. And also for Baseball Biz on Deck for sending me tickets to tomorrow. So I'm just like rolling it right now. I don't know why anybody doesn't want to go see this incredible team, but
I don't know either.
Thanks for letting me
But if
go.
you do, I still have at the Blake Beard up here.
I was just going to bring up Blake Beard because not only are Blake Beard's tickets for sale at all times, which just contact him at the Blake Beard, BlakeBeard with the in front of it, and contact him and you can buy his incredible tickets, which I'll show you a picture of where you'll be sitting at Wrigley Field, right between third and home, right off of the third base bag, right on the aisle. Yeah, just great seats there at Wrigley Field. There's Blake looking all happy with his friend in those seats. And Blake's running a contest, and it's a really cool contest. It's he did one for the Mother's Day last year. I believe that was last year. I get all the years mixed up now. But this year, he's doing it for Father's Day. And here's what's happening. He's giving away his tickets for June 18th, which is Father's Day, 2023. He's giving away his 2 Cubs seats to someone who wants to take their dad to the game. This will be in honor of his dad, who passed away in December to cerebral amyloid angiopathy. In addition to the tickets, you'll also get to visit the Club 400 Cubs Cave in the Chicago version, which is finally done. That's Stuart McVicker's Chicago version of Cubs Cave over on Grace Street. We hanging out there. He's got liquor on tap. So that's where they're right there. Also, I actually donated something to this package for Father's Day. You will also win a personalized song by me for your dad, whether it be a parody song of a band your dad likes, and I'll write some lyrics, a verse and a chorus about your dad and sing it, or maybe even an original something. If you've got maybe a poem that you've written about your dad or something, I could put that to music. Also, Blake's giving away $100 in cash for that's 3 beer bats right
Good
there.
3 beer bats.
Yeah.
It's almost 3 beers.
Plus a goodie bag filled with some Connect Roasters coffee from Ian Happ, 2 obvious shirts, and a couple of Cubs hats to be delivered during the game by Blake's season ticket holder rep. And so that's what Blake's doing in honor of his father for Father's Day this year.
How do you get into this giveaway here?
You have to make a video, or I believe he wants a video, maybe an essay. If Blake's in the chat, let me know, because I actually didn't go through that part. It's a video. it's like make a video, or maybe you could write an essay and contact Blake at the Blake Beard, or look him up on Facebook, and just say why you want to bring your dad to the game, and what that means to you and your family, or what that would mean. And I think it's just a beautiful thing that Blake's doing to honor his father. And I know that, none of us have dads, right?
No.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's not my daddy.
Yeah, so we are not eligible for the contest, is basically what I'm trying to do.
You fucking fatherless assholes. You can't be in this thing.
No, so
as if it weren't bad enough.
Wait, I just
You're
really
not
have a
getting
way.
tickets either.
I really have a way of shitting on beautiful moments, don't I? It's just my, just my thing. But we're at hour 2. I'm feeling a little punchy. I'm waiting for that glass of wine I promised myself I'd have after the show. So anyway, it's a beautiful contest. We'll get you more details. Go follow at the Blake Beard on Twitter. He's the one running the contest. Yeah, just a DM telling me why you want to take your dad. Hey, but if you wanted to make a video, maybe that's a feather in your cap. That's all I'm saying. Trying to get you to win this thing. But no, just a beautiful, beautiful contest. And Blake, thank you for supporting the Son Ranto show and being a Patreon member at the level you're at, and also for your fellowship. Absolutely. Yeah, that you want to do something like this, and your hard-earned dough, give it to somebody else to honor their father. It's a beautiful
And for
thing.
always reminding us that we don't have fathers. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's fucking painful.
You know what? Like, yeah, my dad passed away a few years ago, but he's absolutely the reason I'm here. And he took me to my first game at Shea Stadium, and my earliest baseball memories are watching him play on the Union team. And I think
Back
that's
in the
awesome.
Civil
Like,
War?
if I could, yeah.
Sorry.
he was a police officer. The Union had like a recreational team. He was a shortstop. And yeah, man, I would love to take my dad to a baseball game. I'm gonna DM Blake Beard and be like, I'm gonna go and get my dad's ashes from wherever the hell they are and take him to a game somewhere.
Dig up my father. I'm gonna burn him,
Hey,
and then I'm gonna have his ashes. Take him to the game.
Blake is in the chat, so I actually I don't have my dad's ashes, but I know where they are, and I could go dig them up. Does it count if I write a thing about bringing my dad's ashes to the game?
As long as you promise not to dump the ashes on the
cemetery in New Jersey, I think.
Yeah, well, my dad's right outside the city. I could bike over there in the middle of the night, hide in there from the coyotes. So, anyway, I'm getting dark. I got to end the show. I'm getting dark.
Now that we've gotten to the lighthearted part of the show.
Yeah, now I get dark. Anyway, thank you, Blake, for doing that. And let's just do some TFCs and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, we have to do Chance, right?
And Chance, yeah.
We always forget Chance.
Okay. So I have an amazing TFC this week. This went out from the Miami Marlins. So they're getting these flexing cubes. Booyah. Bartman Appreciation Weekend. Cubs versus
so embarrassing.
Marlins, April 28th to the 30th. So this went out on their Twitter feed, and then, of course, was pulled back.
It went out on email, too.
Yeah.
They get an email blast as well. Bartman Appreciation Weekend.
And you see little Bartman in the background here, and, the players and then they pull it back and claim, oh, this was never a plan. We weren't going to do this. This just got out blah, 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 blah.
Bullshit.
You literally made the thing. This is professionally done. You sent this out on purpose.
My hand slipped and Bartman accidentally ended up, and then it accidentally said Bartman because I was on text to speech and what? Bullshit.
That is way too nicely done to be some Slack channel meme in the Marlins social media circle. You know what I mean?
Inside joke. Yeah.
That's what they tried to say it was. Yeah, they tried to say it was an inside joke, but it's totally, that's poster quality. They were planning on hanging that outside of the stadium.
Well, and I know that he wants to be left alone and all that shit. And the Chicago did the same thing, and they bought that ball and they blew it up. And we've been doing this the whole time.
Spaghetti out of it.
Yeah. Well, and then during the 2016 run, I saw all these fans dressed like Bartman walking around the stadium at spring training. Last time I went there was a Bartman there, even though there was only 5,000 fans at the freaking game. There was some dude dressed as Bartman, and I went and talked to him. I'm like, what's the deal? Yeah, we thought it'd be funny. I'm like, so this is just never going to die. And the poor freaking Bartman guy, the Cubs wouldn't even let it die. Even though they said they were they gave him a ring. They gave him and so we can't act all high and mighty now, be like, oh, I mean, even though I think it's bullshit that they did it. I mean, I wrote a song called Damn Steve Bartman, It's All His Fault. This is pop culture. He no matter, you can try to leave him alone, but that's trying to ignore the freaking monster at the door. You know what I mean? It's you can't. It's the elephant in the room. It's always going to be with us. It's pop culture. Lou made it that happen. The peeing on the hands is going to be about it. It's all going to be there for us.
Yep. Sadly, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's the new GOAT, because it's amazing. The GOAT has fallen off since 2016. The idea of the GOAT curse is gone. But man,
absolutely.
Bartman lives on Probably
That was my first meal after the World Series win. I was like, if the Cubs win the World Series, I'm gonna roast a goat on my front lawn. And like, I didn't actually do that, but I did cook goat for dinner the next night.
Yeah. So yeah, well, the goat is an older thing. Like that was not in any of our lifetimes when that was. We just heard about it. We're like, what did they do? A goat? Who the hell brings who brings a goat to a World Series
The
game?
eccentric fan who's got his emotional support goat at the baseball game with him.
They're like, wait, so we got cursed because they wouldn't let a goat in? We're like, of course you can't bring a fucking goat in. What's wrong? The hell's wrong with this? Is the dumbest curse in the world. Like Bartman actually did something that he shouldn't have done. We had to wait 13 more years. All right, I got one here. This one comes. This one's just a simple one. This one's from Ryan Thomore. He says the A's lineup looks like a video game without MLBPA rights. That's just fucking funny. That's fucking good. Even in the clutch shirts has MLBPA rights.
Oh my God. That is absolutely hilarious.
And I do have one of them. I know you guys are going to want to chime in on this one a little bit. This one is a freaking Anthony Bass. His wife is on a commercial flight and with a couple of young kids, and the kid throws popcorn everywhere. It's all over the floor. And I guess the flight attendant made the pregnant wife, 22 weeks pregnant, something like that, get down on her hands and knees, I guess, and pick up this popcorn that her kids had spilled. And then Anthony Bass took exception to that and was like, American Airlines, what are you doing? You make my pregnant wife get on the floor, clean up this popcorn, And then he got totally ratioed on Twitter because it's like, yeah, pick up your own mess, you asshole. These people aren't your slaves. And then, so anyway, it goes on and somebody says, genuinely curious, who should clean up the mess your 2-year-old made? As a parent of 3 kids, I am the one responsible for him. And Anthony Bass is like, the cleaning crew they hire. And the depressed Jays fan says, the Jays hire you to pitch, and yet you don't do your job either.
Your 7.11 ERA.
Yeah.
At the time. Yeah. I just don't understand the thought process, like how you go from A to I throw baseballs for a living and I'm going to use that platform to try to get an airport worker fired.
Yeah.
Like, how much of an asshole can you be? Like, I should, like, whether that flight attendant was right or wrong, I should never know this happened.
Fired for cleaning up after her own child.
Heaven forfend.
Yeah.
A rich woman cleans up after herself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and also, like, you see the turnarounds, if you understand, like, how it works, like the turnaround crews, the last person, and I've often seen those crews that are looking at me because I'm, like, in the way back of the plane, and I'm coming in, the crews are coming in like, dude, get off the plane, we got freaking 15 minutes.
For this time.
Exactly. Like, come on. So, and they're, and they don't do that good of a job, even cleaning it up, but if you got popcorn all over the place, like, that kind of sucks. I mean, I don't know.
Well, maybe he should be the one.
Flight crews, they don't get paid for time that they're on the ground.
Right. Yeah.
If you bring your kid on the plane and that kid makes a huge mess and it takes a half hour to clean that up before they can bring in new people, that is a half hour that everybody on that plane is not getting any money.
Yeah.
Clean up after your damn self. Like, this is not hard.
Yeah, and it's just bullshit that he would be like, and you're right, just using your platform for this bullshit, being like, United Airlines, help me, because, like, dude, it's over. Anyway, I think that's it. I'm gonna end this show. Well, first we'll do the chance. Chance, your last chance to get in the chance. I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. And so I got to get back to this page. Oh. Doesn't say there's any entries.
I have seen chances.
I've seen a lot of chances.
Yeah, maybe it's broken. All right, let's do this again. All right, let's see if this will populate. I already did this, but we're going to try it again. All right. It's populating. Okay. There's more than 8 chances, but you have a good chance of winning, I guess.
We'll see.
Here we go. That's more than 8 people, too, so I don't know. Here we go.
It looks like it, yeah.
The winner is Joey W. with his second win in 3 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Congratulations. That ups your chance to win the end of the year chance, which is a prize to be determined later. Some baseball cards, a bunch of crap I got lying around. I'll send it all to you in a big
all this shit that he can't fit on his wall behind him.
Yeah, like here's a Pedro Strop baseball card, and here's a winter hat in a bag. Like, I don't know. So
here's a whole shitload of sporting news.
Yeah. So being Rally Tits Lady Day, I did want to, I'm going to play the song that was the winner 2 years ago of the Cubs caroling, Ranters caroling contest, which is John Jurgovan's The Rally Tits Lady to the tune of Away in the Manger. and just, I'm already laughing. So it's just, it was so good. The pictures from that day are in the video, so stick tuned for the whole thing. It's just very funny. John was embarrassed to make this song, so he did it from his car, which you'll see. And after that, and we'll be in the Discord briefly. I'm gonna pour a drink and be up till probably midnight or something like that, maybe 11:30. I don't know where I'm gonna fade, but after the Rally Tits Lady plays, I'm gonna play a poem that was sent to me. Now, this is totally random and happenstance, but Lyle and his wife, actually his wife is the one that sent me the poem. She's down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and she meets this guy from Chicago who is doing poetry for money on the beach. And he'll, give me $5, I'll tell you a poem. And it turns out that he was in, his name is White Cheddar, and he was in Chicago. Sorry, it's funny. So he was in Chicago, and she sent me, Lyle's wife, Holly, sent me this. There's White Cheddar with the sign. This is in 2014 in front of the bleachers, or in front of the marquee on opening day in 2014. He made the front page of the, I believe this is the Sun-Times with his sign. And anyway, she happened to meet him down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and he spit a beautiful poem this week about the Chicago Cubs that he wrote in that time frame where he was living in Wrigleyville. So so it's going to be a mixed bag here at the end. We got Rally Tits Lady and then White Cheddar, and I'm sure I'll bring on White Cheddar another time, but I'll share this in the Discord as well. We can chill on that as well. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. So congratulations to Joe for winning the chance, and I don't know, Spagog.
Yeah, it's Spagog.
Spagog.
Yeah, Spagog.
The day was all rainy, the game start delayed. The Cubs and the Brewers were waiting to play. Kyle Hendricks was pitching, things looked pretty neat. But Milwaukee jumped out to a quick 3-run lead. The Rally Tits Lady, no bra for her rack, unless you consider her blue fanny pack. She noticed our mascot was wearing no pants, so she thought she'd join him with her topless dance. Security swarmed in, they yelled, "Raise your hands." But no one would frisk her for fear of her cans. Her husband just sat there and took in the game, thus missing the moment she achieved her fame. Our Cubby still trailed them by 3 in the 6th, but once she was led off, they brought out their sticks. Edison Russell walked off in the 9th. The rally tits lady brought out the sunshine. The rally tits lady brought out the sunshine. Merry Cubsmas, ranters. I'm probably going to hell now for that version of that song, and my wife might divorce me if she ever hears it, so if you have a place to stay, maybe Bill Sugas's basement.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so a little forward on this is that I wrote this piece in 2013 while I was living in Wrigleyville, and in 2013 it's still been 105 years since the Cubs have won the World Series. So I thought, as a poet, what a testament to how hopeful someone would have to be if they had 105 years of evidence of never achieving that goal. So I thought there was something beauty in the hope of being a Cubs fan, so the poem is called that. It's called Hope, a Toast to the Cubs. You ready? A cold night on the north side in September's last days finds a handful of fans still committing their gaze to a final foray outside Addison Station, for our team scurries off to a long hibernation. And as if by design, there's a vicious intent. A wind whips right through Wrigley, stinging like malcontent, for a sweet disposition, once more aptly disproved by a torturous tradition. Wish Bartman had moved. Now warm cheers turn cold jeers are not heard without reason. After another once bright, now darkening season, where the blue, red, and white showed close to their worst, with a finish not last, but nowhere near first. For they battled all summer, teams who welcomed shortstop at our beautiful park among sunny rooftops, where an old style of play is always greeted just fine. Inside walls thick with ivy that line the confines, and our boys sure did seem to enjoy with much glee, selflessly giving away 2 of 3. So true chasers of pennants could move closer each date to the source of our penance since 1908. But each spring we renew all our faith and our trust, for the trip's always pleasant and never a bust. And we love that hope helps as it guides us along, even when, as a team, we're not doing so strong. Each day we fight for a dream that seems hopelessly distant, that the foul might go fair just for one little instant, so that we know in flow our pain had perfect design, while this patience and virtue was ahead of its time. And on that glorious eve, when we raise our flag high, to fly free in the wind of a crisp autumn sky, we'll let loose heavy burdens that made us such wretches. And remember, in life, we all have our tough stretches. So raise your fist to the Cubs and their distinct ability to bring us much joy and teach us humility. And boys, hold your heads high and have not a fear. We are right here beside you, and we'll get them next year. Woo-hoo. White cheddar.
Thank you.